is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are St. Louis.
It has been a common theme this year. The Cardinals offense exploding with home runs and many runs. And that was the case last night in game number 2. 19 hits for the Cardinals. Much of that done against one of the game's best in Jacob deGrom. Not just the offense, though, that's the story. What about the game 2 start of Carlos Martinez? He goes 8 innings, pick up the victory, and the Cardinals pick up a win in game number 2. Sets up the rubber game. It's game 3, and it comes your way next. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And Cardinals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. It's another warm night here in the Gateway City. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The final time the Mets and the Cardinals will meet. It's game 3. They have split the first 2. And with Jim Hayes and the Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. Randall Grichuk back in the lineup here tonight. And Grichuk, since he's been called back up, that was on August 11th, Jimmy, he has been on fire.
He really has. It's one of those things you go back up and down, and when you come back, you better be ready to stay. The one thing I've noticed has been really calm at the plate, really short swing. You can see the average there since he's gotten called back up on August 11th. He's been nothing but solid, and he's getting a chance to play every day, and that's the important key.
12 extra base hits for Randall Grichuk, 325, the 5 home runs, and he's homered in back-to-back games in this series. Stephen Piscotty also went deep last night. The big bat attack of the Cardinals offense. It's been something to watch here in 2016. Baseball is coming up. Another very important game in the wild card race for both St. Louis and the Mets. The Cardinals now find themselves only a half game out of the top spot in the wild card of the National League. Miami game and a half back, Pittsburgh 3.5. The importance for New York, they go home after tonight either 3.5 or 5.5 back. They'll host the Phillies tomorrow, and Colorado's still in the conversation. Adam Wainwright gets the call tonight. The Cardinals trying to go to 10 games above 500. Wainwright trying to pick up win number 10 on the year. Baseball comes your way next. Budweiser not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. By Chevrolet. Visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealer for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Very warm night here in the Gateway City. Busch Stadium, the scene. It's game number 3. The Mets and the Cardinals, and a live look at the Redbirds taking to the field. Adam Wainwright going tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals. He is 9-7. Seth Lugo for the New York Mets. Jim Hayes is here. The Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds. Dan McLaughlin with you. 91 degrees from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Mets are wrapping up a long 10-game road trip here tonight. They are 4-5 on this trip, but this lineup is hit very well. 292. Jose Reyes leads it off, followed by Asdrubal Cabrera for Terry Collins' club. Yoenis Cespedes, James Loney, good numbers against Wainwright. Curtis Granderson, Wilmer Flores, Alejandro De Aza, Rene Rivera, and the pitcher batting ninth, that's Seth Lugo. Meanwhile, for the Cardinals, it's Wainwright, who picked up a no decision Friday night at Citizens Bank Park against the Phillies. 3 runs in 6 innings. The Cardinals would win that game in dramatic fashion. They were down by a run in the bottom of the 9th and came back to tie it up and eventually win it in 11. Jose Reyes, his last 9, he has 7 runs scored, and we know, Jimmy, he can be a very big catalyst for this club.
Yeah, he can do a lot of things, and a lot of things well. He sprays the ball all over the place. He can run well, still can steal some bases. So he's one of the guys at the top of the order you definitely have to keep an eye on and try to keep him off the bases.
Look at Mike Matheny, as the Cardinals are trying to pick up win number 68 here tonight. If they would do that, that would move them to 10 above the 500 mark. The Mets come in an even 500, 63 and 63. Reyes, a four-time All-Star, won a batting title in 2001 wearing that Mets uniform, and looks at a strike. First innings have been problematic for Adam Wainwright, in particular in that last start. And Jimmy, you were playing center field for so many years behind him. What do you look for early on for big number 50?
It surprised me to see the stats in the last couple games with his ERA being so high. Really just look for location right away. Seeing if he's on, seeing if the ball's really jumping out of his hand. But really for me as a defensive player, I'm looking to see if he's throwing the ball on the right side of the plate when he misses.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Reyes. Overall hitting .274. Big gap in right center. The curveball is whacked into right. Hung that breaking ball, and that's been an issue at times with him.
Early on in the year, that was an issue. You saw that pitch right there. The ball's up. When his curveball is good, not only obviously it's supposed to be down, but it finishes down at the very bottom at the plate, like almost too short of the strike zone, and that's when you get a lot of swings and misses right there. That ball stayed up in the air and didn't get enough rotation to really get down by the feet.
Brings in Asdrubal Cabrera. He'll play shortstop tonight, a switch hitter. A couple of doubles in this series, and he has had a good series, 4 for 8. This is his 6th game since coming back off the disabled list. Cardinals turned a couple of double plays last night behind Carlos Martinez. I think it's safe to say that Jose Reyes has lost a step or two, but still a threat at first base with 6 steals this year.
You hate to say that guys have lost a step. It's only natural. But I guarantee you when he's out there, he's a threat to steal.
Terry Collins was asked about Reyes before the game, and he said he's brought us energy, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to see somebody that could jumpstart this offense. Last year we had Cespedes. He did that. We carried him into the playoffs, into the World Series, and we're trying to catch lightning in a bottle right now with Reyes. The first pitch is popped up. A fly ball into left. There's Brandon Moss, and he makes the catch. Monday pitch arsenal for Adam Wainwright coming into this start this evening. The fastball, cutter, the curve nearly 30% of the time, and he'll mix in a changeup.
You know those numbers can be deceiving depending on how he feels each and every night. Sometimes you won't see that curveball till later in the game. He'll throw a couple early and then put it away and try to get by with some ground balls and some cutters. You just never know how these guys are feeling, especially with these big breaking balls. So it's always interesting to see when it really comes into play and when he kind of just keeps it on the shelf until he really needs it.
Last time that these two hooked up, it was just a great matchup of 2 great players. Cespedes, Wainwright with the game on the line. It was a game that the Cardinals eventually would come back and win off of Jerry's Familiar's first blown save. And Wainwright hung that breaking ball. You think Cespedes knew it? Put the Mets on top. Short-lived, though. The Cardinals would come back and win. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Could be 2. Garcia to his left. Flips. Double play. 6, 4, 3. Garcia, Jerko, Carpenter. And just what that man needed. Adam Wainwright. No score. hits, his second career major league start. Leading things off, it'll be Matt Carpenter, followed by Jed Jerko and Brandon Moss. Steven Piscotty, 3 hits in game 2. Yadier Molina, back-to-back 3-hit games. Then Johnny Peralta, Randall Grichuk, Greg Garcia, and the pitcher Adam Wainwright. Well, Seth Lugo made his major league debut earlier this season in relief. That was back in July. He was 3-4 with a 6.5 ERA at AAA Las Vegas, then was called up. And because of the injury to Steven Matz, he gets one more start at least. And the first pitch is taken for a ball low. Well, good start for Wainwright. Gave up at least 1 run in the first inning in his last 3 starts, and gets out of that inning with a double play and a scoreless frame. Usually, not always, but usually after that first inning, he settles in. Took him all of 7 pitches. Breaking ball and a strike. Carpenter last night led off the game with a home run. First time he had been in the leadoff spot since August 12th. And he's been the leadoff man, including tonight, 83 games, and has hit .292 from the top spot. For whatever reason, Jim, it's just this guy hits from the leadoff spot. The rest of the team .220, and Carpenter at .292, and this is where he wants to be.
Yeah, I don't understand it. As good as a hitter as he is, but the numbers don't lie. I mean, they really don't, and it's amazing to watch, but there's something there, and you just got to stay with it and let him lead off, and hopefully he just drives the team forward and guys will pick up the slack behind him.
Cardinals have won 7 of their last 9, and the offense a big reason why. They've averaged 6 runs a game in that time frame. 20 home runs they have hit. Nifty play there by Matt Carpenter. Many of the Hall of Famers are back tonight. Had a nice chat with Whitey Herzog before the game. Hall of Fame manager, and in his mind, undoubtedly, the balls this year are harder than they've been in the last decade.
Well, I'm glad he said that, because I've been saying that all year. And if you've played baseball long enough to understand and been around the game, which you have, but if you're down there on the field and have been throwing the balls over the years like I have, you can tell as soon as you pick one up. I mean, it's ridiculous. And as soon as I got out of the league, I noticed that the balls were softer.
There's a drive into center field. Diaza is back, leaps and caught it. May have taken a home run away. If he did, it's the second that the Mets have done in terms of taking a home run away this series. First time Cespedes, and now Alejandro Diaza, longtime major league veteran.
See, he just waited and waited and waited at the last second. It's like, uh-oh. It's a little bit further than I thought. That ball carried a long way right there.
Here is Jed Jerko. His last 10 games, he's slugging .675 with 5 home runs. Now, Whitey went as far as to cut a ball open and just look at it, and he said it's not so much how hard and tightly woven it is on the exterior, but the inside. He said the core is the same, but the wrapping around it is different. Nice play, left side. Reyes gets up, fires to first, and out. Nice pick by James Loney.
Well, I find that interesting because I've never really torn a ball apart. I've seen guys do it, but I'm telling you, when you just pick them up and you can squeeze them, there's a difference, and you can tell right away. I picked up one the other day in the office downstairs in the locker room, and it's a harder ball than it's been, maybe not last year, but the year before and the years before that. You can definitely used to be able to put your fingernail in them, and when I played, they weren't that soft, and then all of a sudden this year they're hard again. I don't know why that they change. They swear in MLB that it has never changed, but they've made them in different places. They must have wound them tighter and not as tight in certain areas wherever they're made, but something has definitely been different.
And a pitch taken outside by Brandon Moss. Moss hitting .265, 23 home runs, and he's driven in 57. Pulls it into the shift. And a 1-2-3 inning for Seth Lugo. We head to the second from Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and there's no score. The Cardinals defense with Moss, Grichuk, Piscotty in the outfield. Peralta, Garcia, Jerko, and Carpenter on the infield. Yadier Molina, the mainstay behind home plate. It's been a very rough month of August for Adam Wainwright. 0-2 ERA is near 9. So unlike Waino in his career. On the heels of a July that saw them go 3-0 and a 1.77 ERA. So he's so good, though, at looking at video, dissecting his own issues, and making those corrections on the fly. There's a foul ball.
Well, even the dog days of August can get the best of them at times. And so, you know, he's not immune to getting tired and having a little dead arm and having just issues. So maybe August has been tough on him this year. Hopefully he can turn it around. Be interesting to see tonight, because I think when you start learning about it is when you really start to bear down and really try to turn things around.
Here's an 0-2. Rare changeup there from Adam Wainwright. You mentioned the term dead arm, and there are fans out there saying, well, what is a dead arm? And you see it a lot at this time of the year and right after spring training.
To put it in perspective, it's like when you wake up in the morning ready to go to work and you just can't really get yourself going. You need some coffee, you need some 5-hour energy drink or something, like your body's just not going anywhere and there's nothing you can do. Some days there's nothing you can do to get the life back in the fastball.
Out to right center, and it sinks for a base hit.
And it's really, it doesn't feel any different. You're just not getting the life out of your fastball that what you would normally have. Guys get it on the infield, guys get it in the outfield, the catchers get it, everyone gets it, and it happens to everyone in the league at some point during the season. It's just your body telling you that some part of it is tired, and it's something you got to deal with. And I get it in the outfield. I learned over the years to maybe go into the weight room and just try to pump some new blood, some fresh blood into your arm, instead of just doing a normal workout routine. Just go in there and really try to get blood into your arm, fresh blood, and that sometimes helps. And that's like what you do with your legs. When your legs get tired, you start doing the hot and cold to try and flush fresh blood into the extremities and wherever may be the problem.
Here is Curtis Granderson, struggling last 33 games, hitting just .180 and only 9 extra base hits. He has won the Marvin Miller Award. That's an award given to players for both on the field and off the field performance. Grew up on Chicago's South Side. He donated $5 million out of his own pocket to the University of Illinois at Chicago to build a new baseball stadium. And that's just one of countless instances in which Curtis Granderson has made a difference in the community, especially in the inner city. 0-2 pitch lined into right field. Granderson thinking too, and Piscotty will get the ball back into Jerko, and no play at second base, and it's a double for Curtis Granderson.
I don't know if you could see it right there, but Adam put his head down immediately. I think that's one of those instances where he threw a good curveball there, and Granderson just went out there and beat him to the punch, but rather see it down there. Curtis is a good hitter. That ball is down. You can see Yachty going down to block it. He just does a really good job of waiting right here and serving a base hit into right and double into right.
Neil Walker and his lovely wife enjoying their first baby, their family addition, and so he'll return to the lineup for the Mets tomorrow. And playing second base, it is Wilmer Flores, who homered in game 1 of this series, a 3-run shot. He's hitting .259 with 13 home runs. Very good start to the second half and has cooled off a bit. Runners at second and third, nobody out. And the cutter is in there for a strike. Mentioned the importance of this game in particular for the Mets. They go home tomorrow night. They'll host the Phillies. They'll be either 3.5 back or 5.5 back in the wild card. Infield is back in the 0-1. Hit out of play. Earlier this season, the Cardinals celebrated the 2006 World Championship team, and I would imagine that Mets fans are sick of seeing Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina. And if they're tuned in tonight, they have to hear from Jim Edmonds. They're probably sick of you too.
Hopefully our telecast doesn't get all the way to New York, but if it does, it does.
Some Cardinal greats. It's been interesting. You know, these are the two guys that have the most starts together of anybody in over 100 years of Cardinals baseball history. Number 1 on that list was Tim McCarver and Bob Gibson. And been watching tonight, Wainwright has been shaking off Molina a lot here early on. Don't normally see that between those two.
No, you don't. And you know, that just goes to show you that their normal game plan or their normal plan of attack isn't how Adam's feeling tonight. So he might want to mix some things up depending on what he feels are his better pitches tonight, and Yachty's just not with it. He's not in his head, so he doesn't understand that right away. So they'll talk it out and they'll work through it.
It was 312 games ago. Cardinals gave a shot to a tall, skinny Georgia native. We didn't know much about him, named Adam Wainwright. Major League debut September 11th of 2005 at Busch Stadium 2, and it was against these Mets. Pitched in the 9th. Mets are up 4-2. Kaz Matsui had a base hit, and that's well hit on a breaking ball out to left. Moss under it, puts himself in a position to throw, and it's cut off by Peralta. Run will score, and that makes it 1-0 New York. Sometimes you see the curveball and that hump from Adam Wainwright.
There's another one right there. It's unusual you see 3 guys in a row put that curveball into play like that. But it's just one of those things. He's going to work through it. He's going to keep throwing it until he gets it right. And it's almost there. It's just getting too much of the plate or too much of the strike zone for what you normally see out of Adam Wainwright.
Alejandro Diaz, he's been with the Marlins, White Sox, Orioles, Red Sox, Giants, and now the Mets. Jay Bruce has been dealing with a sore shin on a foul ball against San Francisco, and then had a cramp last night and had to leave the game, so not in the starting lineup here for game number 3. Marty Foster calling the balls and strikes. Mark Wegner at first. Mike Winters, the crew chief, down at second. Mike Mulchinski is at third. check swing and did not go. 2 balls, no strikes, 1 out, runner at second base. Playing Diaza to pull on the infield, shading him a bit the other way in the outfield, and he cranks one down the right field line. It is hooking, and it is foul. Home run distance, but pulled foul. I think what you're talking about too, Jim, is looking at a sharper breaking ball, sharper cutter. You know, he throws that curveball nearly 30% of the time. So as the opposition comes up second, third time through the lineup, you know they're going to see it a lot.
We usually see the swing and miss is over the top of it, not popping it up, not hitting it. It's usually a swing and miss, and the ball ends up bouncing in front of Yachty, and he's just throwing it a little bit further, and it's getting too much of the zone. It's kind of the problem I thought he had earlier in the year, and just didn't have his breaking ball the way he normally did, and the breaking ball gets too deep. Guys can still put it in play.
Asking about the count. If it's 2-2, it is not. 3 balls, 1 strike. Can see too with how Wainwright receives the ball back from Molina. He's a little frustrated not only with what's happening but with the strike zone too. There's a good curveball. 3-2. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks.
It's a good breaking ball that goes around the zone a little bit. As a hitter, when you see it come out of his hand, it looks like it's going to be outside the whole way and just kind of works its way back in towards the plate.
3-2 pitch. And he struck him out. Comes back to get him. First strikeout of the night for Wainwright.
Good 2-seam fastball, kind of runs back a little bit. See so many balls coming in at you. Cutter, curveball, cutter, slider, and then the fastball straight kind of runs back over the plate, freezes you. That's a tough pitch to stay on top of right there. You're thinking the ball's going to come in at you, and it runs back. You got no chance. The thing I was talking about with Adams' curveball is normally when he throws that curveball, it looks like a strike and ends up a ball. Right now he's throwing it where it's ending up a strike, and that's not typical Adam Wainwright when we've watched him when he's good.
So the pitch around the 8th place hitter Rene Rivera, the catcher for the Mets, and deal with Seth Lugo. This is one of the aspects of the game that's been talked about of being eliminated. If you're going to intentionally walk a hitter, instead of having him throw 4 pitches outside the zone, just walk him, put him on. Another way to speed up the game. I'm not sure I agree with that.
I don't really agree with that because so many things have happened over the years. Guys have thrown balls to the backstop. Important runs have scored. Games have been won.
Balls tail back in the zone. Someone hits him.
Miguel Cabrera swung at a few.
So here is the pitcher, Lugo, 9th place hitter. 2 outs and 2 on. And the first pitch is strike. Little smile there from Lugo. Mentioned earlier, he came up as a reliever, second major league start. Steven Matz, the Mets are hoping that he's back in the rotation on Tuesday. The Cardinals will have interleague play this weekend. Hall of Fame weekend here in St. Louis. Luke Weaver, Ross Detweiler, St. Louis native, will pitch tomorrow for the A's. We're on the air at 6:30. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike.
Seth Lugo going without batting gloves.
He's old school.
Old school. He's got 2 at bats. And when that bat flies out of his hands because of the sweat, he might go get some batting gloves.
The 2-1. Lines it out to right center, and Grichuk is there. The Mets will strand 2. They pick up the first run of the contest. We're midway through 2, and it's 1-0 New York. And Johnny Peralta for the Cardinals in the bottom of the second. Jim, I had a specific assignment and a question that I brought up last night for you. Is Matt Carpenter sick of being asked about the leadoff spot? What do you have for me?
Yeah, I did some digging. You also asked how many times has Carpenter been asked about hitting in the leadoff spot. Yes, Carpenter said he's tired of being asked about hitting leadoff, and he thought about the number of times he's been asked, and he said 100,000 times. And he said it's not an exaggeration. He's being totally honest. He gets asked when he's in the leadoff spot. He gets asked about it when he's not in the leadoff spot. He says he wants to make sure it's clear. Quote, I enjoy hitting third. I enjoy hitting anywhere in the order. But he told me he was honest with Mike Matheny when they discussed it, and Mike agreed with him. Carpenter said, quote, at this point, I'm the best leadoff hitter on the team. That could change, but I'm the best option now. Dan Carpenter feels there's a misconception out there. He is happy to hit anywhere. He just thinks the team is better off with him at the top of the batting order.
And think about this with the lineup last night as you get a look at Stephen Piscotty. Thank you, Jim. Multi-hit games from numbers 2 through 9. So that includes the pitcher last night. First time that it happened since 1930 for the Cardinals. Unfortunately for Matt Carpenter, he was the one without the multi-hit game. Piscotty pops it up, Loney giving chase, and out of play.
That was some kind of hitting they did last night, though.
Leadoff home run off the bat of Carpenter and really set the tone in this game. The Cardinals knocking around Jacob deGrom the night before. Jonathan Neese only a third of an inning for the Mets. So Neese and deGrom, their two starters, 8 runs in 5 innings. Neese, by the way, has a torn meniscus. He's had surgery and probably done for the year. 0-2 is fouled back. He was called up July 21st of last season in Chicago against the White Sox, and there's a look at the numbers. 180 games into his career. Not too shabby.
Not at all.
Just see him getting better on a daily basis as well. And think about it too, Jimmy. Here's a guy in his first full major league season, and we're late in the year on a team that could be heading to the playoffs. They lead the National League in home runs, and he's the one that's batting cleanup.
And you know what? He's only hitting 279, but that's a heavy 279 for him, and he's just going to get better. He's going to learn how to use that power and that average. He had a hot start this year, kind of cooled off. People stop pitching to you as often. Makes it harder to adjust who's going to pitch to you, when they're going to pitch to you, but it's just something he's just going to get better. He's going to learn more. We already know how good he is. I love the way he's always covering the outside part of the plate. He's not afraid of the right-handed hitters, and he's just going to keep getting better.
I asked him about his welcome to the big leagues moment. Every player's got one of those. He said it happened in my first ever major league at bat. I come up, bases loaded. He said, I can't even feel my body right now because I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. Heart pounding. Slider in, swings over it. Slider in, swings over that. Gets a slider again. It hits the back of his foot. He runs on a pitch that he swings and misses. Bases are already loaded. Everybody said the ballpark is confused, including him, who knows the rule. And he comes back in the dugout, and guys are like, what are you doing? And that was how he was introduced to the big leagues.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Do you have one of those moments?
I don't know about something like that, but my first at bat, I swung through 3 85-mile-an-hour fastballs from Bill Gullickson and thought, so something different up here. I don't know what it is, but I went 0 for 3 in my first game, and then I hit a 97-mile-an-hour fastball for a ground rule double in my second game, and so it wasn't making sense to me at that point.
Here's Yadier Molina. Molina has hit .556, 4 doubles. He's driven in 3 in 5 games against the Mets this year. And he's had 6 hits in this series. Back-to-back 3-hit games. So you get a look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal on right-hander Seth Lugo. Fastball, slider, the curve, and change. 0-2 the count. Guides it into right. Base hit for Yadier Molina on an 0-2 pitch. What a second half he's had.
Makes it look so easy when he's going to right field too. He just kind of leans out over there and stays behind the ball and just, I feel like he can just flip it out into right field. You see this swing right here. He's just guiding it like you said, but it's not like he's doing it on accident.
You don't see him off balance very often, not fooled very often. Here's Peralta. He tripled last night off the wall in right, and that scored Molina all the way from first. And he looks at a strike. Seth Lugo was very good as a reliever this season for the Mets. 9 relief appearances. Opponents hit just 185 against him. Last start, suffered the loss in his first ever major league game in terms of being a starter. 8-1 to the Giants, but he went 6 2/3, 3 runs, 7 hits, 69 pitches. That was it. Center fielder is Diaza, and he's very deep.
A little bit of room to left center.
It's at the top of the cutout of the arch. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. Cespedes, Diaza, Granderson in the outfield. Reyes and Cabrera on the left side of the infield. Flores and Loney on the right side, and Rene Rivera is behind the plate. 0-2 the count on Peralta. Keep an eye on Kansas City and Miami. They are scoreless in the third down in Florida. Pittsburgh will play Milwaukee tonight at Miller Park. Here's a 1-2. Normally, and you played this ballpark, you played at Busch Stadium too. These early starts at 6:15 can be very tough on a second baseman and a right fielder with the sun. But this late in the year, it's a completely different story.
Definitely changes it, and especially today. You said the difference in the year, obviously the sun kind of gets down a little bit lower, takes away the shadows, and then today is a little bit of cloud cover. So yeah, you're praying for a little cloud cover when you got this time of the day going for you. And that's we saw earlier in the year the right field's view in looking into the hitter is it's unbelievable to try and be out there with the sun just right in your face.
Strikeout of Peralta, 2 in the inning, 2 in the game for Lugo. And it brings in Randall Grichuk. We highlighted the Cardinals center fielder in our open. And Jimmy, for those that missed it, what are you seeing from Grichuk? Because he's been on a tear.
He has been on a tear. And I think that the biggest thing for me has been more quiet at the plate, not swinging and missing as much, not swinging at as many balls. And really when he's putting the effort into the swing, he's staying compact and he's hitting the ball in the nose. And earlier in the year, I think he got a little caught up in maybe getting behind in the count and getting a little caught up in chasing and trying to do too much. And now he just looks so much more comfortable at the plate.
He was asked after the game last night, what kind of player are you? That's what he was asked. And he said, well, I hit for power. If I can barrel up a ball, it's probably going to get hit hard. But I'm also a guy that, along with the power, comes a lot of swings and misses. That's just part of my game.
That's the thing he's going to learn, and that's the thing that he's going to improve on, whether he likes it or not. He's just going to turn into a different kind of a hitter, and he might not even realize that it's going to happen, but it's going to happen because he's just going to get used to knowing exactly what he wants to hit.
2 balls and a strike on Grichuk. Short lead at first by Molina. Chops it left side and foul. Let's turn to Jim Edmonds. Toyota keys to the game.
Well, the key to the game is offensive, just stay hot. I mean, they got to win this series at home. I like what you said earlier about even just the Mets, the difference between being 5.5 out and 3.5 out. So you got to not worry about, they get them to 5.5. You don't have to worry about that team for a while and win this series right now. Keep this offensive hot and just roll into the next series.
The 2-2 to Grichuk. Rips it out to left. Molina to second base. That ball all the way to the wall. Yachty digging for third. And it's a double for Randal Grichuk. So in 10 games since being called back up from the minor leagues, his second time down at AAA Memphis for the Cardinals. He's hitting .325, 5 home runs, and now his 11th extra base hit.
You can see right there, he's just sitting comfortably, not over swinging. When you overswing, you can't adjust and hit that breaking ball on the nose like that. And so it seems to me he's a little bit more comfortable and not worried about the pitch inside. He can take a little bit more pitches here and there because he's not hitting from behind in the count as much. And I said, when you're that compact and that strong, you can wait so long and hit the ball hard. I think he's just going to keep getting better and better. And this is a great example of what he's capable of doing.
So both managers, little strategy here. Walking the 8th place hitter early in the game to get to the pitchers. Adam Wainwright has 8 hits this year, and the Cardinals pitcher, all 8 have gone for extra bases. Cardinals have even used him as a pinch hitter at times. Had a game-winning hit and RBI earlier this year against the Pirates, and he'll come up with the bases loaded. Interesting. It's one thing to do it against Lugo, who has, including tonight, his second major league start. Here's a pitcher that can swing the bat pretty well.
Still got to take your chances with this, but I also like the chances of getting our pitcher, one of our better hitting pitchers, if not the best hitting pitcher, up there with the bases loaded and 2 outs. I'll take this any day. But for the Mets right now, you're hoping now that Lugo can go out there and make some pitches, because it's not just throw it down the middle and hope he pops it up.
So bases loaded. 2 outs here in the home half of the second.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws him some breaking balls.
Big gap in left center. And the 1-0. Fastball and a strike. And Wainwright, you don't see that reaction from him very often. Shoulders slumped. Shaking his head a little bit.
Get a look right here. It's not awful, but not the pitch you want when you're up there hitting. Looks like it's out of the zone. Had some sink at the end. It even makes it even worse is when you look down as a hitter, you can see where the catcher ends up. And he's a good couple feet behind the plate where the strike zone should be.
Should mention that tomorrow Adam Wainwright has his annual fantasy football draft, and all the proceeds will go to his charity. And he's got probably about half of the league involved with that charity to play fantasy football and raise money every offseason, going overseas to impoverished countries and helping out, building homes, helping those here in St. Louis, but also providing clean drinking water for so many communities. Pretty amazing stuff that he's done. That'll be here tomorrow. Here's a 1-1. Mets had their 3-game winning streak snapped last night. New York 4-5 on this 10-game road trip. They're 16-22 since the All-Star break. Just missed. 2-2.
I wouldn't be surprised if Adam had a little talk. You could see him nodding his head but not looking back as to show the umpire up. Trying to get a little bit, buy a little bit of help there, and maybe hopefully get that pitch when he's on the mound.
The 2-2 struck him out, so the move pays off. He strikes out the side. The Cardinals strand the bases loaded. We move to inning number 3 from St. Louis. 1-0 Mets. Fans 16 and older take home a Cardinals lightweight zip-up jacket featuring a vintage Cardinals logo courtesy of AT&T. Get your tickets for September 10th. The Cards and the Brewers at cardinals.com/promotions. Nice crowd on hand. Cardinals expecting over 40,000 again. They have not had a crowd under 40,000 since September of 2012. That's incredible. Along with Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're in St. Louis. And it's the top of the lineup here for the Mets as Reyes will lead things off. Jose Reyes on a 1-2 pitch, single to right. The Mets really weren't sure what they were getting when they gave Reyes a second chance, signed him to a minor league deal back in June. So he's showing bunt. Replaced David Wright as their everyday third baseman who is done for the year. And who knows with David Wright with the chronic neck and back issues he's had, if indeed he will play again. Here's the 0-1. 0-2.
And that's the breaking ball we've been talking about. The first one was big around the plate. The second one was a little bit tighter, but it ended up down in the dirt, out of the zone. So making adjustments already in just the third inning.
Here's the 0-2. Just missed a little low. Talking about it last night, really throughout the series. Jose Reyes, when you were on that field, Jimmy, just what a weapon he can be. Could slap the ball everywhere, great speed, extra bases, hit for a little power. This time he pops it up. Foul territory, Peralta, and he makes the catch. It brings in Cabrera. So let's see if Wainwright can settle in a little bit. And you mentioned earlier the curveball sometimes extending too far, and you know it
just doesn't get down in the zone. And
right.
Sometimes it's just, I mean, I think for him he could be throwing it too hard or just not getting enough break, but you can see how quickly he can make that adjustment. I mean, the first couple curveballs he threw to Reyes right there were big and huge break, and the second one he threw on purpose kind of down, and you see it bounce right in the zone, or right at the bottom of the zone. Sorry.
Shallow right. Piscotty can't get there. Goes past him. Jerko is there and hustling all the way. Cabrera, and slides in with a double. That's his fourth double in the last 6 games.
Piscotty was going to have a chance to catch this, and then you go all that way, you get a little too close to it. Not sure it'd been better off stopping and giving himself a chance to stay in front of that ball and keeping him off second base. Little slippage again right there, and I'll tell you that this time of the year with the grass being it's so humid outside, the grass just stays wet. It's really hard to stop out in that outfield. There's nothing you can do, and nothing the grounds crew can do to prevent it.
We saw that last night with Cespedes. Been dealing with a right quad issue here in the second half. Got so bad for him that he had to be put on the DL. Grounded into a 6-4-3 double play his first time up. Here's the 0-1. Ground ball that's hit to short again. Garcia makes the play, and Cespedes is 0 for 2. Brings in James Loney. Just one of those things where you look at a guy, and for whatever reason, Adam Wainwright struggles against James Loney. He had a base hit to right center back in the second. He is now 17 for 35 And that's an extended matchup there. 17 for 35. Loney against Wainwright with 5 doubles and a home run.
The home run surprised me because I think James Loney is the type of guy that would give Adam Wainwright and guys with a lot of movement fits because he really doesn't take a big swing. So 17 for 35 does not surprise me with that type of matchup. The home run and maybe the doubles, yes. But he's a guy that just stays on the ball. So curveball, not really going to fool him. Cutter, he can stay with it. Sinker away, he can flip at it and foul it off. And you know, if you throw a guy like Loney a breaking ball late in the count, he's kind of just sitting there trying to put the ball in play, and that's what he can square up.
It's really one of the oddities in baseball where you look at matchups for guys that have been around a long time, and for whatever reason, one player just has a pitcher's number or vice versa. That seems to be the case here with Loney. They talk to hitters about this, and certainly you can add on, but they say, well, I just see the ball so well, or I'm comfortable knowing what the pitcher's trying to do against me.
It's really is an amazing feeling, because I remember there's certain guys out there that just cannot wait for him to throw the ball over the plate, and then there's other guys when you're just really trying to battle just to get through the at bat, hoping that he makes a mistake.
Here's an 0-1 pitch. Popped him up. Peralta, does he have room? Yes, he does. Mets strand a runner. 9-pitch inning, 1-0 Mets. By Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. By your local Volkswagen dealer. And by Bank of America. Life's better when we're connected. Connor, Brendan, and Missy Main are here at the ballpark, and Connor is our statistician here tonight, doing a fabulous job.
Our statistician just kicked me out of my seat.
Leadoff man Matt Carpenter, as you get a look at Mike Jorgensen, who's been in this organization, player, manager, run the minor leagues. It's Matt Slater to his left, and he went out and brought in Seung-Hwan Oh. Matt Slater travels the world to try to find talent, and we always say it, if you can play, they will find you, and they found Seung-Hwan Oh.
They will find you. See Matt Carpenter right there trying to take a shot at bunting that ball right there, and he had a good pitch to bunt, and he just missed it. He was not happy jumping up and down.
Anytime he mentioned Seung-Hwan Oh, to find his sidekick, as Jim likes to refer to him as Mini-Me. also known as Eugene Koo, the translator.
I got a new one for him. He's the sleeper. Every
sleeper.
plane ride, he is out cold. Said you got to mingle with the players a little bit. You got to speak. You got to say hi to people when they walk by. And he goes, I just get on the plane and I go to sleep.
Carney Lansford was on Tony La Russa's staff at one point. And Carney, the outstanding third baseman with the Oakland A's, but when he was coaching here in St. Louis, if he fell asleep on the charter, well, it wasn't pretty. If he had fireworks, he'd put them next to your head if he could. But he was going to do everything he could to make that a miserable experience in waking up.
I wouldn't have been happy.
I wasn't happy.
Some of the guys that you had to play every day, you needed to take a little nap once in a while.
1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out, nobody on Jed Jerko. Arcia in the driver's seat concerning Jed Jerko. And the Cardinals and team slugging percentage, he has slugged .675 in his last 10. The Cardinals at .449, among the best all time in franchise history. Hits it down the right field line, slicing, foul, and out of play. Well, the Mets have some arms, huh?
Yes, they do. And did you see those 3 teams kind of in the middle of that stat sheet right there? Some pretty good teams there. I think I was a part of some of those.
Were you on some of those?
Some of those. It's always nice to see that the legacy of some of those teams that I was fortunate enough to play on, because I always say, and when we do these interviews, we've done them with you plenty, I thought we could have won 3 or 4 World Series championships with 2000 to 2007, and it's funny how even 2003 was so good and yet didn't even make the playoffs. So I mean, we've had some really good teams, and I feel like that's just how hard it is to win.
I think about 2001. It was a walk-off against Arizona in the final game to win that series against the Cardinals. 2002, you lose Darryl Kyle and still get to the National League Championship Series against the Giants.
And we had a chance to tie that game.
That's right.
In the last inning there. But like I said, people ask all the time, and the one thing that stands out today for me is they win tonight. They're 10 games over 500. I think just goes to show you how good this team actually is without even playing great baseball all year. And it's kind of you just strive to be 10 games and then 15 games and then 20 games, but you got to start somewhere. And how hard it is to win is all those teams, how good they were, and even in 04. And yet the team that wins is the 06 team. It just gets hot.
04, in my mind, the best team that you were a part of. 05 was a 100-win team too that lost to Houston in 6 games. And then you win in 06. That's baseball.
But Tony said something to me not too long ago, and he talked about pitching, and he said the 04 team didn't have the depth in the pitching that the 06 team did. And I thought, you know what, I don't know if it was the depth or just that the 06 team pitched a little bit better down the stretch. And I mean, I think in 2000, I couldn't believe how good we were in 2000, 2001, 2002. We were a hard turn around third base from tying it up. I mean, it was amazing. And so people always ask, and I say it is so hard to win in any level, but especially in Major League Baseball.
2-2 the count.
Just seeing Alex Pietrangelo down here today made me think about it too, is how hard it is for the Blues to just get through the playoffs, and everything's got to go right, and they got to stay healthy. I mean, it's just in every sport to win, it's just so much tougher nowadays with all the different levels of playoffs.
The 2-2. The Cardinals looking at a situation where, as it stands right now, you'd have to have a 1-game playoff, win that, then win a division series, championship series, then the World Series. The 3-2. And he struck him out. That's 5 through 5 innings. Seth Lugo looks tough here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and the Mets have the lead 1-0. Top of the fourth, we check in with Jim Hayes. And Jimmy, it's been a resurgence here for Randal Grichuk.
Yeah, you guys were talking about Randal and how he's been on an offensive binge since his most recent call-up from Memphis. Grichuk credits getting a vote of confidence from Mike Matheny for part of his success. Mike told Randal, don't overthink it, just let it rip, and don't worry if you have a bad night, you're our center fielder. Randal told me, quote, it just sort of freed my mind. It's allowed me to just go out and play. I know if I struggle or have a bad game, I know I'll be back in there. And Dan, for his part, Matheny says he's not certain we wouldn't have seen the same results from Randal had they not had that conversation. He says Randal just needed a chance to play quite a bit.
Well, it's a good point, too. You know, and let's bring in Jim Edmonds. I mean, you're a young player, of course, over the course of 6 months, you're going to have those rough streaks, 0 for 10, 0 for 15, 0 for 20. And if you realize, though, you're going to be in the lineup every day, it does allow you to relax just a bit.
It really does. I think that I had the similar chance in Anaheim where I wasn't playing that well, and yet I'm starting to get a little worried. And manager pulled me aside and said, don't worry about it, just keep playing defense and you're going to be our center fielder. But even here early on in the season, Randal was not playing regularly if they were struggling, and it's not a knock on Mike, and Mike's trying to get the team to win, but it's just what happens when you have a lot of guys that can play. And good and bad thing about being athletic is you get to move guys around and keep the lineup fresh, but the bad thing is you get a guy like Randal Grichuk who has to play every day and learn. Get in and out of the lineup at times and just really hard to get going.
Off the glove of Johnny Peralta, and that'll be an error for Peralta. That is his third this year. Hit it right into the shift, so Granderson is on base for the second time. Reached on an 0-2 pitch back in the second and doubled. Very nice to have Connor Main with us here in the booth. Met Connor before the game, young man that's dealt with an awful lot of medical issues, and he walked away, big bright smile on his face. Loves his Cardinals.
He was dragged away.
Well, let's be honest.
He didn't want to go.
Leave. But Mom said we have ice cream to go get. He said, I don't want that stinking ice cream.
He would trade ice cream for the booth any day.
Very cute kid. Here's the 0-1. Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, this is a game that's been kind of indicative of the way that the Cardinals have played this year. Miscues a little bit, an error behind him, and now having to pitch around that. 1 ball, 1 strike on Wilmer Flores.
So you're saying they're going to work a little bit harder here, maybe make another error, and then in the next 4 or 5 innings hit 3 or 4 homers.
That pretty much sums it up.
Sums it up for the year.
That's been the way it's gone. Cardinals turned a double play back in the first off the bat of Cespedes. 2 balls, 1 strike on Flores, who picked up the lone RBI tonight. Just maybe caught the corner.
That's about what we were talking about earlier when he was having that conversation. I think if I'm the pitcher and I take a pitch inside that I don't like when I'm hitting, I'm just asking him, hey, I just want to make sure maybe I can get that pitch when I really need it.
Popped up to the right side, and Carpenter giving it a look, and it's out of play.
Can tell you that conversation between pitcher and umpire and manager and umpire happen almost every single night. As long as you're getting that same pitch, we'll take it.
Stephen Piscotty saying the other day that the video breaks down situations, so they can just plug in the pitcher, give you the situation, what they're doing, the trends, but also video and reports on the umpires, the strike zones. That's how detailed things have gotten.
I do not want to know that part of the game right there. I don't want to know that one umpire is going to call a pitch off the plate more than the other, because then if you forget who's who, start chasing. And that's what I was talking about. Hitting is such a mental game that if you start thinking that you have to go outside your zone, you're going to be destroyed inside the zone, because you're going to start thinking about what ifs, and This game is more about reacting to what you see than to guessing what could happen. And as soon as you guess what could happen, you're done, and basically going to make the game so much harder on yourself.
2-2 the count. Big gap in left center field. And the next from Adam Wainwright. Ripped out to left and a base hit. Over to get it, Brandon Moss. Granderson digging for third. He'll be held up. It's a double for Flores. And that is the third double by the Mets tonight.
And that's what we talked about in the first inning. You don't want to see, trying to go sinker down and away, and that ball runs back over the plate and is up in the zone. And those are the kind of misses that you're not accustomed to seeing, but you definitely do not want to see out of Adam Wainwright.
Midfield defense, Jerko on the right side along with Carpenter a few steps back. Now they're moving in. Left side is in, so they'll play it in with second and third, and now Garcia, the shortstop, backing up. Nobody out, and the batter is Diaza. How about the dirt behind Greg Garcia? Beginning of the game, it's a little bit more pronounced, but you do see how light that is.
Word on the street is that Greg Garcia's hands get so sweaty that he doesn't want the wet dirt to rub his hands on. He wants a little bit of dry dirt around him to grab and keep your hand from really just getting too wet. Cause the ball to sail into basically into the stands.
Base hit into center field. One run is in. Here comes another. 3-0 New York. Diaza with RBIs 14 and 15, and the Mets have a 3-0 lead.
Looked like a little bit of a change up right there. Stayed up. See the base hit. Scoring too easily, with Randall having to go over to his left with no chance to make a play. Right back to work, trying to get another ground ball for a double play.
Here's Rene Rivera, intentionally walked back in the second to get to the pitcher. Move that did pay off. Double play ball for 6-3. Cardinals turn their second double play of the night. When you think about the errors that happen in the course of a season and how that adds to the pitch count and the stress level of any pitcher, you're now dealing with runners on, and that was the case for Wainwright. Instead of working out of the wind, he goes to the stretch, the double, base hit, now 3-0.
And it's like you said, it's stressful. You went from second and third to right back, just giving up that base hit. Obviously Adam's fault, but right back into a guy on first base, and now he has to bear down trying to get a sinker around the plate to try to get a ground ball double play. So it never ends if you keep having to pitch with guys on base.
Here's a 1-1. Taken just a bit low by Seth Lugo. Came up with runners at first and second, and lined out to Grichuk in center. Three and one. See Wainwright, he's frustrated not only with what's happening in the game, but fighting this strike zone a little bit. And a base hit, and Lugo picks up his first hit. It's 2 hard hit balls that he's had.
I was going to say, that guy's got some pop.
They'll throw that baseball out. First major league hit for Seth Lugo. Back to the top of the lineup, and Jose Reyes. This is game number 28 for Reyes back in New York, and he has scored 19 runs. And looks at a strike. He singled to right on a 1-2 pitch, a curveball, and also popped out to third. 0-1. Cutter misses in. We've seen it before where sometimes a guy gets on base, a pitcher in particular we're talking about, lose concentration once they go back out on the mound. In this case, it's his first major league hit. We saw that a little bit with Carlos Martinez last night.
And you're hoping as a Cards fan he gets a little excited and a little amped up and maybe forgets about going back out there on the mound and really getting back into a groove. And I'm telling you, like I said, a lot of things can happen out there between innings.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Kansas City and Miami tied up at 2-2. That's in the bottom of the 4th. And Pittsburgh 1-0 lead over Milwaukee. They're just underway. Some good, some bad tonight for Adam Wainwright. But that pitch count shows you commit the error in the extended innings that accompany that more times than not. Saw where David Freese signed a 2-year extension with the Pirates. Good for David.
Almost didn't have a job.
Right.
Next thing you know, he's got 3 comfortable years in Pittsburgh.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Lugo is running with 2 outs. Lifted in the air left side, and Peralta is there in foul territory to make the catch. Base hit by Diaza to score 2. Lugo his first major league hit. I'm not in the front row to see that catch. The Cardinals score 6. Any size drink just 50 cents the next day. That's coffee fountain, frozen drinks. When they score, you pour at your nearest on the run. You earned it. Beautiful night here in the Gateway City. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. BJC Healthcare Difference Maker month of August has produced some big numbers, hot hitters for the Cardinals. Grichuk, Jerko, Moss, and Piscotty. But tonight, it's a different story. Cardinals only 2 hits through 3 innings.
This young man, Seth Lugo, has been pitching pretty well, moving the ball around. Good fastball, sneaky.
Think about how this season began for the Mets with a healthy Matt Harvey, thinking that Zach Wheeler would be available, Steven Matz, Jacob deGrom, and in this series it was Jonathan Neese, lasted third of an inning. deGrom 4 2/3 last night, and so far Lugo has been impressive. Scotty struck out his first time up.
Those injuries will make it tough on the manager.
Man that you know well, Terry Collins. One ball, one strike. So deGrom 28, Harvey on the DL 27, Wheeler 26, Matz 25, he's on the DL, and arguably the best of the bunch, Noah Syndergaard, hard thrower, in the top 5 in ERA, and he's 11-7. Cardinals actually got to Syndergaard in a day game in New York earlier this year at Citi Field. And the 1-1. Breaking ball taken low. Bottom line is, though, for Terry Collins, he needs innings out of Lugo. The relievers have pitched 12 of the 17 innings in this series for the Mets. And because of that, they've got a fresh arm out there, a left-hander, Sean Gilmartin. He's an outstanding college player and pitcher at Florida State. 3-1. Late call on Piscotty to bring it full. Chevy Fox tracks.
Right on the edge.
(3-2). And there's ball 4. Second walk issued by Lugo. The first was intentional. The bold and refreshing frozen strawberry lemonade is back, and it's only at McDonald's. Yadier Molina singled to right on an 0-2 pitch. 1 for 1. That was back in the second inning. We always talk about mileage on a body. You know, Kobe Bryant had a ton of miles at the end of his career. Jim Edmonds played a long time in the big leagues. A lot of mileage on that body. A lot of mileage on this body right here.
I can't even imagine having to squat every day. Being a catcher has got to be the toughest position as far as on your back and your legs, your lower body. Just playing every day is tough. I mean, it is. You got to be some kind of man to go out there every day and catch foul balls off the arm, off the chest.
Remember last night he took one right off the left portion of his chest. Just shook up a little bit.
Just on the edge of the missing the chest protector.
I think about their hands. With all these guys, we talk about throwing 95 plus coming out of the pen. Their hands do get beat up. And because of that, this time of the season, I would think, and I've talked to Tim McCarver about it, but as a catcher, it's hard to even just grip the bat sometimes. Your hands are so beat up.
I'd have to say the good thing about Yadier Molina is he does have amazing hands, and as far as catching the ball, you don't ever see him get beat with pitches, and so he doesn't take it as tough as a lot of guys do, but it definitely has got to be tough on his hands.
Double play ball, 6-4-3. So the leadoff walk erased with the double play. First turn by the Mets tonight. Two outs, nobody on, and it brings in Peralta. Struck out his first time up looking. Seth Lugo missed all of the 2012 season. Dealt with a back issue. It was an illness in his back in terms of the vertebrae. Had to miss the entire season. and has now made it to the big leagues. He was off the radar after that year. Some believed he would never be able to play baseball again. And here he is in the big leagues. He's a 26-year-old native of Shreveport, Louisiana. 34th round pick in 2001. And the 6th player ever from Centenary to make it to Major League Baseball.
I'll tell you what, Danny, he's been impressive so far tonight. Got a lot of movement. You saw that. Hasn't thrown a whole lot of curveballs, but you saw the first pitch to Peralta, just like an exploded breaking ball that ran from one side of the plate to the other. So the stuff is there, and he's having a good start to tonight's game.
Here's a 2-0. Fly ball lifted out to deep center field off the bat of Peralta, but that will go right into the glove of Diazo. Had a very good jump and was playing fairly deep. So we played 4, and it's 3-0 Mets here in Game 3. The wild card, the Cardinals 1 half game back of San Francisco. Giants at Los Angeles later tonight. Ross Stripling will get the call for the Dodgers. More for San Francisco. And we are in the top of the 5th. 3-0 Mets. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup. Cabrera, Cespedes, and Loney. Pittsburgh 3.5 out in the wild card. The Mets 4.5 at the start of play tonight. There's a high fly ball lifted out to left, backing up Moss, and he makes the catch. That wasn't very comfortable looking, was it?
Look at, he's looking up at the lights. About the time of the night where it's not really dark, the lights aren't really taking effect up there in the high part of the sky. And yeah, that ball can blend in sometimes with that kind of just dull looking sky.
One of the big questions surrounding the Mets after this year is whether or not Yoenis Cespedes will stay. It's a 3-year deal, opt out after every year. A couple of days ago he said he would stay with the Mets, and he's backed that off a little bit, saying that he would not opt out of his deal, but he is open to other options. So he's backed away from saying definitely that he's staying in New York.
Probably got a phone call from the agent and said, hey, let's just keep them guessing for a while.
Last year he played in 57 games with New York. 17 home runs, drove in 44. And Terry Collins was saying before the game, a real key if they're going to get into the playoffs is trying to find the right people around him for protection. Will you pitch to Cespedes or not? And tonight, Jay Bruce, who had been hitting behind him, is dealing with a sore leg, so he's out. And tonight it's James Loney.
You got to believe at crunch time that he's going to get tougher and tougher to pitches to hit. Less chances of getting strikes down the middle, and maybe the guy behind him is going to have to do a lot more work.
Three and one the count. Cespedes twice has grounded out to short. First time turned into a double play. Outfield is deep. 3-2.
It's a good sinker. Didn't really sink much, but had a little bit of life on it at the end.
Full count delivery. Hit out of play. Fouled away again. It's been such an odd year for the Cardinals. Cardinals are 28-40 against teams 500 and above. The Mets at an even 500 start to play tonight. 39-18 against teams below 500. That disparity is the biggest in all of baseball. They have not played well at home. They're below 500. And the best record in baseball on the road. 3-2 pitch. And he walked him. Second walk issued by Adam Wainwright. Don't miss St. Louis's biggest office party and the workplace wellness event of the year. The Biz Dash is Thursday, September 15th, right across the street at Ballpark Village. Fox Sports Midwest presents the Friendly Industry Team Competition. Create your company team. Join in the fun. Visit stlbizdash.com.
The Biz Dash.
Yep. Here's Loney in a fly ball that's lifted out to shallow left. Garcia can't get there. Drops in front of Moss. Play at third and safe. That is one of the oddest plays you will see.
You definitely don't want your pitcher in the middle of that right there. I thought he was out. He is out. He should be out. I wonder if that counts as the ball coming out of the glove.
That call, by the way, is made by the home plate umpire as all the umpires shift, and then your first base umpire goes to the plate in case the ball gets away.
This has got to be interesting because I'm wondering if this is part of the rule where if like the ball pops out of your glove, well, what happens when your hand pops out of the glove?
The other thing that Mike Matheny can say is that it was there long enough, and then
Plenty
the
long
hand
enough.
Leaves the glove.
All you have to do is tag him. Tag him, he's out. And he's there. He's still not on the bag.
What a heads-up play, by the way, Adam Wainwright to be there, because Peralta went out, Garcia went out, and then Wainwright went to the bag.
I have to believe, just not knowing the rule on that, and actually have never seen that before, I have to believe he's out. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think that the tag is there long enough.
How long does it have to be there? Swipe tag, bang, you're out.
Yeah, and that if the ball is still there, regardless, the tag was there initially with Wainwright there with the hand in the glove, that he would be out.
Well,
I've never seen that.
If he doesn't step on the glove and stay stepped on the glove. He pulls his hand away, the glove comes away, he's out.
Good point, though, about a swipe tag, too.
I mean, all you got to do is touch him.
And I think there's maybe a little confusion here with the umpires trying to decipher this as well.
I think they got to look at this regardless. Even if they come up with this play is not reviewable, is reviewable, you got to look at it. You got to figure it out.
Well, it's definitely reviewable.
I can't imagine this one is in the reviewable playbook. He is definitely out.
So the glove gets caught in the cleat of Cespedes as Wainwright is trying to leave. I've never seen that. Just on the replay alone, to me, he's out.
The people are like, wait, what just happened?
The folks here at the ballpark are seeing the replay, and they're moaning and groaning and thinking that he, without question, is out.
I mean, oh no, I don't even know what to say about that. I guess we're just going to have to watch and see what happens.
To be honest with you, I think it's an easy call. I mean, his hand is there in the glove. He's out.
If you're Terry Collins, how do you argue that he's not out?
And it's because of the cleats in which the glove is caught as to why the glove comes off. See, right there, he's out. Right there. So now, as Adam tries to leave the situation, oh my, they call him safe.
I have to go back out there and ask for an explanation of why he's safe. Terry Collins has got to be watching that video board and thinking to himself, wow, how did I get away with that one? He's almost smiling.
Well, you brought up the point of a swipe tag.
I think this is where they have to say to the crowd what happened.
No question.
Maybe we could get Jim Hayes down there.
Could be a huge play in this game. So instead of 2 outs, it's 1 out. Runners at second and third. And now Curtis Granderson at the plate. Granderson doubled on an 0-2 pitch back in the second, reached on an error and scored a run in the fourth. Runners at first and third. My other question would be, why is James Loney still at first base? If the ball is still in play, time not called, no one near the baseball, Loney should be at second.
I think you're right. I'm still trying to figure out how he's safe, though.
The shift is on here for Granderson. The 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. What an odd play that was.
I just got a text message from Barrett Jackman, and he said, how is that possible? What happened? How is he not out?
Longtime Blues defenseman Barrett Jackman still calling St. Louis home.
Oh, man. We're with you, Barrett. Still trying to figure it out
Never
ourselves.
seen that. Have you seen anything close to that?
No, not at all. I've seen the glove fall off, and I've seen things happen, but not where it's such a close play where he should be out and then the glove falls off. I've seen the glove end up on the other side of the fence in the stands, but never a tag made and then couldn't pull the glove away.
2-2, and he struck him out. Big strikeout for Adam Wainwright, number 2 tonight. So with 2 outs, runners at first and third, it brings in Wilmer Flores. doubled and scored back in the fourth. Can't wait for the explanation from Major League Baseball on this and what Mike Matheny has to say about it as well.
I'm willing to bet you're not going to get an explanation from Major League Baseball.
Well, they've got to come out with some type of statement on the play. The call, at least in my mind, makes zero sense. The ball's there, the glove's there. He didn't slide into the bag. Last time I checked, that's an out. Here's a 1-0.
You mean when you tag a guy before he gets to the base, he's out?
He's out. That could prove to be a huge call in this game. That's the rules, man. So Major League Baseball does have a ruling on this play, we understand, as our truck has been in contact with the folks in New York. He has to be in possession of the glove and the ball.
For how long? 1, 2, 2.5 seconds.
Well, the replay was in slow motion.
Slow motion, but still.
Well, that's one of those kind of plays that they have to take a look at. What if your glove is caught by a cleat?
Listen, and we're obviously sitting here in St. Louis working for Cardinals and Fox, but if he was out, if he was safe, I would say he's safe.
And a ground ball that's hit to Garcia, and he boots it. The second Cardinal error on the night, and the Cardinals should be out of the inning. Instead, it's a 4-0 Mets lead. The other thing I would say too about possession is that he was pulling away with it on his hand. I mean, there's nothing you can do about a cleat that sticks into the glove, and the momentum take him away from the bag, and it sticks in the glove. Odd play. So an error on Garcia, that's his 6th, and now a 4-0 Mets lead, and it brings in Diaz. Wainwright should be out of the inning. Runners at first and second. So the Cardinals have committed 2 errors tonight, and this is a big one. Now the pitch count is at 89 for Wainwright. In the air, right field, going back, Piscotty at the wall, and it's gone. 3-run homer, Alejandro Diaz, and his 5th of the year.
I think he threw that pitch exactly where he wanted to, and somehow he got his hands through the ball and got the barrel enough to hit it out. And I'll tell you what, Adam Wainwright is doing everything he can possibly do to keep his team in this game, and it is not working for him. A couple errors, a couple bad pitches, a couple balloon calls, funky strike zone at times.
So Diaz has driven in 5 of the 7 for the Mets tonight. A base hit back in the 4th that scored 2, and a 3-run homer. He came in hitting 189. This crowd is quiet here at Busch Stadium. The 0-2 pitch to Rene Rivera. It is a game-changing call, undoubtedly, here in this inning and this game as Broxton starts to throw and get loose in the Cardinals' pen. Wainwright is due up third for the Cardinals in what looks like his final inning of work. Pitch count at 95. This will be pitch number 30 of the inning. Third strikeout for Adam Wainwright. That's a call that'll be talked about an awful lot around the major leagues tonight. It cost the Cardinals. It's 7-0. Right. So the call for Major League Baseball is that he did not maintain possession. And that's a play that you just don't see, and we've never seen, where the glove gets caught in the cleat. If he stays with the tag, clearly he's out. The tag was there, but as his momentum shifted towards the infield, that is odd, odd, odd. Man. And it cost the Cardinals. Now, there's no excusing the fact that after that he gives up a 3-run homer, and that's part of baseball. So we are in the bottom of the 5th, and it's 7-0 Mets. Here's Randal Grichuk, double to left on a 2-2 pitch back in the 2nd inning. And a ball outside. The Kubota power stats. Fewest ABs and the RBIs. 7.23 for the Cardinals, puts them in the top 3. Grichuk with a high fly ball out to deep right, and Granderson just enough room.
I really like what I've been seeing out of Randal Grichuk. I mean, he is really turned it around, been super consistent, and I love the fact that he's not trying to pull the ball and just letting the ball come to him and then putting a good swing on it.
You know, one play in this game, and again, it's not to make excuses. The Cardinals have committed 2 errors. Wainwright wasn't overly sharp, but it is a big play in this game.
Well, I think the play at third and then the error at short definitely didn't help, but tough game right there for Adam to swallow with all those mistakes, and I'm still unsure about what's going on at third base. I think if I was Adam Wainwright right now, I'd have to take a walk around the stadium underneath.
Well, I think
cool
it's,
off.
You know, for him, it's more than the play. It's about what's been transpiring here in the month of August. Then the home run by Diaza.
But in general, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's built up. I mean, he is clearly upset, and you can understand why. So it's a walk to Garcia. Second walk for Greg here tonight. Sunday, September 11th. 30,000 fans 16 and older receive a set of 4 ceramic Cardinals coasters presented by Coca-Cola and Schnucks, featuring birds on the bat logos from 4 eras. Coaster set is the perfect addition to your home, office, or man cave. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. The Cardinals with 14 pinch hit home runs this year, which is tied for the all-time record set back in 2001 by the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants. Hazel Baker has been a big part of that. First pitch to him. You can see Wainwright, they try to offer him some water. He declined in frustration, you could tell, and no one's talking to him.
Politely declined.
Hazel Baker pops it up. And backing up, it is Cabrera. What is going through his mind right now? You're a guy that knows him very, very well. We haven't seen him struggle an awful lot, but this last month has been
well, I tell you,
as frustrating as any month he's had.
He's trying to calm down is what he's trying to do right now, because when you get out there in that competition and things don't go your way and you're doing everything you can, your blood really boils, and it is hard to hold back the emotion. He's doing a good job, but that first and foremost is what he's trying to accomplish, is to calm down so he can kind of process what just went on.
Slowly hit. Hopping off the mound, it's Lugo, and he gets Matt Carpenter. Carpenter is 0 for 3. We will head to inning number 6. 7-0 Mets. the career of Hall of Famer Bob Gibson. That day, 30,000 fans 16 and older receive a Bob Gibson red jacket statue to add to their collection, courtesy of Scott Credit Union. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. New battery for the Cardinals, and that is Jonathan Broxton and Alberto Rosario. Here's Seth Lugo, 1 for 2 on the night. Maintain possession of the ball from the point of contact and thereafter. So basically, the explanation, review, confirmed call, Wainwright didn't have control of the glove or the ball. Here's a 1-1. Fastball at 95, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. And a ground ball that's hit to the right side. Jerko puts it away, and that's the first out here in the 6th. Hyundai pitch arsenal on big Jonathan Broxton. The fastball, the slider, change, and curve. I think there was a lot of things not going Wainwright's way. Frustrated with the strike zone. Errors behind him. A couple of plays that could have been made that weren't called errors.
That's what I was kind of talking about. Everything kind of builds up at once. It wasn't really the air here and the air there. It was the total of all of it combined. And then, you know, you said he gave up a 3-run home run, but he's nowhere near has to face that many guys in that inning. If we just get a simple explanation and a play made.
Jerko gets Reyes. So one more time, here it is back in the 5th. A little bloop off the bat of James Loney, and Cespedes winds up in 3rd. Heads up play by Wainwright to be there, and I think you'd have to say common sense would tell you he would keep possession of his glove and the ball if the spikes don't catch in the glove and he's not stepping on the glove. But it does not go the Cardinals' way, and after that, he struck out Granderson. Flores reached on an error that could have ended the inning, and then the 3-run homer by Diaz up. Cabrera pulls it foul. When it rains, it pours.
Especially here in the Midwest. Sure his catcher is alongside with him and not happy either, because he wears it with those pitchers. I mean, he takes everything to heart.
Cabrera with a double back in the 3rd. No balls and 2 strikes. He's flied to left twice, 0 for 2. Outside that double. Seven nothing Mets here in the top of the 6th. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Cabrera. Oof. Strikeout for Broxton. And a 1-2-3, top of the 6th. Mets on top here in St. Louis. medical teams in baseball. Seth Lugo went out to warm up, threw a pitch, and all of a sudden something wasn't right. Take a look. Uh-oh. And right away, Rivera calling in the medical team and Terry Collins. And so Lugo is out of this game. So the Mets again with a starter that is hurt in this series. This will be our Chevy call to the pen. It's incredible the amount of injuries the Mets have had this year, especially this week. That'll be Jim Henderson, who will come in and he'll get all the time he needs to get loose and pitch in this game. Terry Collins is thinking, you got to be kidding me. 7-0 Mets. Baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. David Ortiz, the oldest player now with 30 or more home runs in a season. Rich Hill, first start with the Dodgers. 1-0 win over San Francisco, pitched well. And the Oakland A's coming to town, and they just won 2 of 3 against Cleveland. That's your T-Mobile greater coverage of Major League Baseball. Academy Sports and Outdoor leaderboard. We'll see if the Cardinals can't hang number 17 on this relief corps of the Mets. Fewest in the National League, Pittsburgh, then San Diego, and the Mets, one of the better relief corps in baseball when you get to Reed and you get to Familia. And now it's Jim Henderson. He's one of the last guys that's still has a tie-in to the Montreal Expos. He was drafted by the Expos. He's a native of Canada, and he spent 10 years in the minor leagues. And then he was finally called up, and the name may ring a bell because he was called up by the Brewers. We saw him a lot in 2012. Then in 2013, he replaced John Axford as their closer. Thrived in that role. 2014, he was the Brewers closer, then struggled, had to have shoulder surgery. And then 2015, a year ago, recovering from that sore shoulder. Took him a while. The Brewers released him. Henderson signed with the Mets in December of this past offseason. We're in the bottom of the 6th. It's 7-0, and here is Jed Jerko. Cardinals have been out hit in this game 9-2.
Crazy. You've been watching these games for how many years now, and every time a team throws up 19-20 hits, a big day, the next day a little flat. I don't know why, how you would think the momentum would carry over.
Jerko greets him with a base hit out to left.
Hopefully they heard me.
So 19 hits last night, number 3 here tonight. Jerko is 1 for 3. Moss has grounded out to second, also struck out swinging. That was back in the 3rd. The shift is on here for Moss. That's fouled back. As we talked about, it's probably a buildup of so many things here tonight for Adam Wainwright. But this month has been a tough one. The last 4 starts, 19 innings, 29 hits, 18 earned. Outfield is deep. And the 0-1 pitch to Moss. Inside. Pulled foul. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. And the 1-2 way outside to even it up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. I'm sure in your experience, Jimmy, you've seen it a million times, but guy comes in just trying to get a feel, trying to get loose, as he was not throwing in the pen when Seth Lugo had to leave with warm-up tosses, and all of a sudden he had to get out.
That was just a bit outside.
The 2-2. And Moss cranks it down the right field line. It is gone off the foul pole. Line drive shot off the bat of Moss, and that's number 24.
Like a cutter slider that doesn't get in enough, and he just hits a missile off the foul pole or the fair pole.
Home run pole.
Whatever you want to call it, pole. Telling you what, I mean, it doesn't look like he comes out of his shoes. He's got a very good, solid, hard swing, but he blisters the balls, especially to right field.
Brings in Piscotty, who is struck out and walked, fouls it back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I almost had that one. That was the closest we've been all year. I was ready that time.
10 years in this ballpark, not 1 foul
that
ball
was it.
Made it to the booth. Just relax. I know you get a little nervous on those fly balls.
I thought that was the one.
Here's a 1-1. Yeah, you probably got that one too.
Look at this swing right here by Brandon Moss. Nothing crazy, just extension. See the contact point where it's at, out in front. And he hits the ball in the barrel. It goes a long way, Dan.
Now up to 24 home runs as Piscotty again pops it up. Flores is there for the first out. Albert Pujols drives in his 100th run this year. 13 seasons of 100 or more RBIs. That joins A-Rod, who had 14, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Jimmy Fox.
Yikes. I'm going to put money that he has another year or 2 or 3 in him of 100 runs, or 100 runs batted in.
Nothing really would surprise you when we saw Albert all those years here in St. Louis. Alberto Rosario. He singled in game 1 of this series. And he strikes out. So Henderson gets him with the fastball. Excuse me, 2 strikes, 1 and 2.
You saw him with the overswing and the walk-off. Kind of caught your eye a little bit.
So 1 and 2 the count with 1 out and nobody on.
Contrast in what we were just talking about between Brandon Moss and, say, Rosario.
Let's take an eye. 2 and 2. So Moss with the 24 home runs, now with 59 driven in. Moves him ahead of Matt Carpenter on the Cardinals team leaders list, closing in on Stephen Piscotty. Came in with 71. Rosario with a fly ball out to right. That'll bring Granderson near the track, and he makes the catch. A single, 2-run homer, pop up by Piscotty. Rosario flies out to right, and it brings in Peralta, who was called out on strikes and also flied to center. Ball 1-2 Peralta.
Been calling that high strike all night. Ball's up a little bit. See a lot of heads shaking on that high strike.
One and 2. Ground ball that's hit to second. Taken there by Flores. And after the home run, the Cardinals go in order, but they do pick up the 2-run shot. Get on the board. It was a Jerko base hit, and Moss a home run off the foul pole in right. We head to the 7th. It's 7-2. is brought to you by Michelob Ultra, brewed for those who go the extra mile. By Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. And by National Car Rental, go national, go like a pro. Here's Cespedes, second inning of work for Jonathan Broxton. Cespedes, a quiet night. A game in which has seen the Mets score 7. 0 for 2, grounded into a double play, grounded out to short, and also walked and scored. This will be pitch number 13 for Broxton. He had a 1-2-3. Back in the 6th. Reaches for it, hits it down the right field line. That will drop fair. Cespedes on his way to second base. And it's touched by a fan, so ground rule double. He's going to get a talking to.
He's going to get scolded by that 7-year-old lady that comes down from the top. Shaking her finger at him. Come on.
No, no one saw that one.
Why would you grab it and then pull your hand back like it wasn't me? Here we go again.
I mean, you know, if you're going to do that, you got to be kind of, you know, inconspicuous about it. That one was
No.
pretty obvious. Here's James Aloney. Aloney with 2 hits, 2 runs scored. Back to Broxton. Looks back Cespedes. 1 away. With MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, watch every out-of-market game live in high definition on over 400 supported devices. That includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Never know what you'll catch on a cell phone here and there, Jimmy.
What the heck?
Some of the messages that are sent out. Whew. Here's Curtis Granderson, reached on an air, struck out and doubled. And a strike, 1 ball, 1 strike. See, you got to be careful.
Wow.
Foul back.
This guy just tried to catch the ball, went right through his hands and hit him right in the gut.
Well,
he just sat down.
Well, not everybody can be an 8-time Gold Glover. All
but
right.
the ball bounced right by his feet, and he just sat back and held his stomach, and somebody else picked it up.
Runner at second, and a 1-2 pitch to Curtis Granderson. Now Broxton calls time as he calls out Rosario. tied him up and struck him out. So Broxton picks up his second out. He's recorded 5 thus far with no damage done. His second strikeout tonight.
Such a good slider right there, down to a lefty. Especially with Broxton's velocity, guys are expecting to get a fastball right there, and you throw that little slider that you really can't pick up the spin till the last second. And talk about it all the time. Pitching in has its advantages, and one of them is right there, having to pull the trigger a little quicker than you want to as a hitter.
So 2 outs and a runner at second. Broken bat, slowly hit up the middle, and Jerko is there. Time to stretch here in St. Louis. The Mets with a 7-2 lead. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. So Henderson in. He pitched in the 6th in relief of the starter, Seth Lugo, the Mets, and now it's one of their 3 lefties in their pen. And this is Jerry Blevins. We saw him pitch in game 1. It's our Chevy called to the pen. So here we go, bottom of the 7th, Randall Grichuk. Grichuk 1 for 2 with the double tonight. The first pitch is swung on and missed for strike 1. One ball and 1 strike. Plaza Tires Fox Tracks. Good breaking ball. And it's 1-2. One away. Join us for Purina's Better Together Pet Adoption Days at the ballpark September 8th and 13th. Head to Ford Plaza prior to the game to meet adoptable furry friends from Gateway Pet Guardians and Helping Strays. Get your tickets at Cardinals.com. That's coming up later this month, or rather later in September. One out and nobody on.
Greg Garcia's having himself a heck of a night.
2 walks, and one of those intentional. And a strike just below the knees. 1-1. They play him opposite field. Pitch inside. So Terry Collins has had to go to his bullpen an awful lot in this series. And again, that is the case here tonight. Try to get the final 8 outs of this game. 2-2.
They got a good shot to win this game, but what's it going to do to their team down the stretch run, especially in the next 3 days? When they start getting to the point where you got to wait till that September 1st deadline where you can start calling up some fresh arms. You're definitely going to need it.
Hit up the middle and a base hit for Garcia. Now, Jimmy, I like to check in from time to time on the minor leagues. I've never heard this one. The State College Spikes had a sheep delay in the 6th inning as one slipped through the screens there and onto the field, but was successfully herded off after 4 minutes. So a sheep delay.
Sheep delay.
Yeah.
I thought you said sheet delay at the beginning, and I'm trying to figure out where you were going with that.
That'd be the animal, the sheep. Here's Tommy Pham.
We could use a sheep delay and regroup. Or a 2-run homer by Tommy Pham would help. Tommy Pham.
Second pinch hitter for the Cardinals tonight. That's hit out of play for strike 1. Garcia, by the way, has reached base 8 consecutive times. On base for the 3rd time tonight. Pair of walks and now that base hit. Here's the 0-1 to Pham. 0-2.
Tommy with the big swing first pitch, and then big breaking ball for the second pitch.
Crowd tonight of 40,023. 40023. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Tommy Pham. Struck him out. Took something off at 72 miles an hour with that pitch.
Fastball with a big swing. Curveball you don't get a chance to swing at. See it. And the 3rd pitch, another curveball, better location. Pull the string on it a little bit slower. Tommy Pham swing right over the top of it. I mean, that's good pitching right there. You go after somebody, foul it off, throw a good breaking ball, then you swing at it, or then you see it, you get another one to swing at, and it just, there's no miles per hour behind it, and just way out in front and over the top of it.
So 2 outs and a runner at first for Carpenter. 0 for 3 tonight. We're back in the first. Diaza took what may have been a home run away. Terrific play in center field. And twice he has grounded back to the pitcher, Kevin Segrist. Outstanding left-hander for the Cardinals, getting loose. Kansas City now with a 4-2 lead in the top of the 8th over Miami. It's a key game for both these teams in the National League wild card. Oh, right back up the middle, and Blevins lucky he wasn't hit. I mean, that's inches, if not centimeters away from his face. Wow, scary is that? Oh my goodness.
Wow. Wow. Look at Carp's eyes. Wow. Watch this right here, Danny. Watch Matt Carpenter's face. He realizes when he hits this ball.
Sense of relief for everybody.
His eyes
Man.
never blink.
So now it's Jed Jerko, who's had some big moments for the Cardinals here in the second half. 2 outs and 2 on. Cardinals originally brought him in the trade with San Diego. The idea was that he'd be a bat off the bench, in particular to face left-handed pitching.
You just never know, Danny. You just never know.
And 2. Ball that came off of Carpenter's bat, 97.8 miles per hour.
Telling you what, that is scary, scary, scary to see how close that got to his face.
The 0-2 struck him out. So Blevins a scoreless 7th inning, and the Mets have the lead at 7-2. And the Cardinals will turn to Kevin Segrist. 52nd appearance of the year. Good work by Broxton, as he had a couple of scoreless innings. And now Segrist. Mets have out hit the Cardinals 10-6, and they lead this ball game 7-2. It's been a very frustrating night, many levels for the Cardinals. Johnny Peralta with this error, the first of 2 tonight. And the play of the night there. Cespedes out, but ruled that Wainwright was not in possession of the glove or the baseball, and so then the call stood. And also a Greg Garcia error. So very frustrating night for the Cardinals as they trail 7-2. Alejandro Diaz leads it off against Segrist here in the top of the 8th. Strike 1. And Diaz with one of the top defensive plays of this game. In center field to rob Matt Carpenter.
I was going to say, to add to it, taking a home run away, or at least a double away to start the game.
Also had the big home run off of Adam Wainwright after that play at third base with Cespedes. 1 ball, 1 strike. He now has popped 5 this year. He's driven in 5. Here's a 1-1. Be very interesting to hear from Mike Matheny and his take on the play at third base, having a chance to maybe cool down, see the replay. Certainly they're going to take a look at that. Every game there are write-ups done by managers and the umpires on certain players. And then also about Adam Wainwright. You know, I mean, what does he think about this performance? Where does he stand right now? And knowing Adam, he won't blame the errors. He won't blame the play at third.
Would be interesting to hear his take on the play at third, though.
Exactly. 2-2. Just missed. We're back at it again tomorrow. 3-game set with Oakland to wrap up the homestand, and then back out on the road. I'm not sure that's necessarily a bad thing for this team.
Get them back out on the road and
absolutely
get them going again.
Play so well away from Busch Stadium. 3-2. Pulled foul. So Budweiser, what's on tap? Ross Detweiler against Luke Weaver. Coverage begins at 6:30. Weaver's had a couple of starts, one in Chicago, the other at Citizens Bank Park in Philly, and his home debut tomorrow. What have you thought of him so far?
I like him. I like him. Young man, comes up, seems like he's under control, got good stuff. I could just, it's kind of a wait and see process and see how many times he goes out there and can keep his composure and keep his team in the game. And then you know what happens. You never know what's going to happen next year. So he could find himself right in the starting rotation next year. It's as easy as that. It really is. It's you show up, you pitch, you get somebody's attention, and then all of a sudden people leave, people get traded, spots open up, and the next thing you know, you're in the big leagues.
Rene Rivera, leadoff walk by Segrist. And there's strike 1. The Cardinals turned a couple of double plays behind Adam Wainwright through the first 4 innings.
I got called up in September of 1993 and thought, man, I never want to go back to the minor leagues, and never did. Got lucky enough to stick on the '94 team and kept on going from there. And that's just how it works. And then other guys bounce up and down and spend 10 years in the minor leagues, like we saw with Henderson earlier.
Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Mike Leake will go on Saturday against Zach Neal. Jaime Garcia Sunday against Andrew Triggs. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Base hit out to left. This will roll all the way to the wall. Diaza being waved in. Nope. They're going to hold him up at third. Looked to me like he would have scored easily.
I was going to say the same thing.
Got to third, and Moss was basically just getting to the ball.
He was flying around the bases too.
Justin Ruggiano will be the pinch hitter. Infield is drawn in. He has 6 hits, a couple of home runs, 6 RBIs in his last 3 games since returning from the DL. He had a long home run in game 1. Fastball and a strike. We were talking after the game that night. It's one of the longest home runs we've seen hit at this ballpark in left center. Here's the 0-1.
And to think, I was saying this to you, this ball, they said, I think only went 440 something feet. It was way up there.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Make it 1-2. Breaking ball taken low. Cardinals will have Moss, who is homered tonight, a 2-run shot to account for their scoring. Piscotty and Rosario coming up in the bottom of the 8th. Two and two the count. Struck him out. First out here in the inning. The Cardinals will welcome Chris Carpenter, Joe Torre, Terry Moore, and Sam Brayton into the Hall of Fame this weekend. Fox Sports Midwest will bring you exclusive coverage. Now the ceremony is Saturday, and our special premieres Sunday at 11:30. 2016 Cardinals Hall of Fame inductions brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers at Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals will pitch around Reyes and load him up and try to get that double play. So the intentional walk of Reyes and to bring in Cabrera with the bases loaded. Diaz of the walk, double by Rivera. Then we saw a strikeout, intentional pass of Jose Reyes to bring in Cabrera. First pitch, a late call and a strike on the inside corner. The view from section 151 here at Busch Stadium. See the home plate umpire, he took a long look at it, then called it a strike. Pitch number 22.
Just keeping the game moving, Danny.
The 0-1.
Why
Now
not
it's
go back
0-2.
in there? That's the thing right there. As a hitter, you saw what he just swung at. So you take that pitch for a strike, and then the pitcher's going to go back in there, and you have to protect. You can't take that pitch and have it be 0-2. Such a mind game when you're up there at the plate.
The 0-2 going back in again. Up the middle and a base hit. One run is in. Rivera held up at third. That makes it 8-2 Mets. And Mike Matheny will go to his pen. That'll be Jerome Williams. This is our Chevy call to the pen. Williams coming on when we come back. Appearance. It had been 6 days since Seager's pitched, so they wanted to get him some work. He throws 24 pitches and now he's out of the game. Want to keep him available as he is their 8th inning man for this weekend.
Not what Mike Matheny wanted to see out of Kevin Seagrass, and not Kevin's fault, but you got to get him some work. You'd like to get him some quick work, get him in, get him out. 24 pitches is okay, but kind of the result is not what you're looking for right there. You want him to get into an inning and smooth, quick, and move on. And just a tough night all around for the Cardinals right now.
Jerome Williams wears the pink glove. A lot of fans ask us about this. We know that every fan is tuned into every moment of every game. And pink glove, it does stand out. It is for breast cancer awareness. His mother went through that, so that's why he wears that glove. Bases loaded. Cespedes Pops it up. Carpenter giving chase out of play. Three grand slams in his career this season, 1 for 3. Look at the average, though, in his career in this spot, 432. Misses in.
He's one of those guys when you watch play, like when you stand out in the outfield or now watching from TV, just looks like he's comfortable almost every at bat. Like any pitch that you leave over the plate could be hit hard.
Double play ball. Garcia. The turn by Jerko. Double play. Nice work by Jerome Williams. Second time that Cespedes is grounded into a double play. 6-4-3. It's 8-2. And Josh Smoker is into the ball game. He pitched in game 1 for the Mets. This will be his 4th appearance. ERA of 6 in his 3 innings of work, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts. He's allowed a home run. Mets on top of the Cardinals tonight, 8-2. Turn to our Nissan drive of the game and got out of here in a hurry. Home run, Brandon Moss hit down the right field line and off the foul pole for a 2-run shot. Our Nissan drive of the game.
How is your Twitter world going tonight?
I haven't checked.
You have not checked yet tonight?
Sir.
Just checking.
And yours?
I haven't checked in weeks.
I haven't checked in, yeah, a couple days maybe. No, I did earlier today. I'm just curious if you heard from David Eckstein.
How did I know that was going to come up? No, I did not.
Moss with a fly ball. Out to right. This may leave. And it's gone into the bullpen. His 2nd home run of the night. Brandon Moss. 25 this year for Moss.
See that split that was oh so dangerous the other night? Stayed up for him, and there's that power again.
Makes it an 8-3 Mets lead, and now Stephen Piscotty. .98 miles an hour off the bat of Moss. One and two the count. So the Cardinals with 7 hits and 2 of them for Moss, leaving the ballpark now up to 25 home runs. The 2-2 pitch. Piscotty with a fly ball into left center. This ball will get down. Well, Cespedes has been nursing that sore quad, and you can see it there. No need to exert himself too much to get hurt with a 5-run lead.
And he ran hard. I mean, I thought he was going to catch that ball. It looks like he just kind of came up a little slow and didn't want to take a chance. Then another barehanded play.
Like we saw last night.
Size of his hands, I think that it's almost as big as his glove. Some kind of athlete.
Hit to the right side, bobbled, but the play is made. No, off the bag, and Rosario is safe. Flores initially with trouble, looked like getting it out of the glove. That may have cost him.
Could not find the bag at the end there. Thinking for the Mets, do you challenge this just because it looks like a tough play? Or you just go to the bullpen?
So it does not look like they will challenge it. We'll give them a little longer look at it, but by rule, time would expire to have the ability to challenge that play. That's a tremendous call by our first base umpire, Mark Wegner. Our Chevy call to the pen. We'll tell you about the change when we come back. 8-3 Mets. That kind of night for a Cardinal fan. But you never know. So no challenge by the Mets. That is a outstanding call by Mark Wegner, the first base umpire. And with that, it's runners at first and second. Nobody out. And the Mets taking no chances, even with a 5-run lead, understanding the importance of this game against the Cardinals. They're trying to stay close in the wild card, so they'll go to their 8th inning man. That's Addison Reed. He pitched in game 1 of the series. Peralta at the plate. Strike 1. Reed, a former closer, but now a setup man for Familia. No balls and 2 strikes.
You know, you think this is a game that's pretty much a blowout, 8 runs, but now you see that it's 8-3, and we're 1 swing away to being 8-6. You're Terry Collins. You hate to have to bring in your guys right here, but you don't have a choice. It's all seeing how quickly a game can get away.
Bullpen trying to hold on for Seth Lugo, who left with a leg cramp. That's what got Jay Bruce last night. One-two pitch out to center. Catch made by Diaza. First out, and it brings in Randall Grichuk. Hitting .289 with runners in scoring position. Slowly hit. Bases loaded. So Grichuk, a 2-hit night. And it brings in Garcia, who's been on base 3 times. Sometimes you got to have a little luck along the way, too.
I'm telling you. You got to take those little squibers with the hard outs. They say they even out, but I don't believe it.
One out, bases loaded. Inside, ball 1. Cole Wong moves to the on-deck circle. His college teammate at Hawaii is at the plate. Here's a 1-0. Tuivailala and Duke throwing in the Cardinals pen. Now time is called as they want to go over the signs again. Two and one.
Sure Terry Collins is starting to get a little uncomfortable. I'm sure Mike Matheny's starting to wonder, can we pull it off again?
Garcia hits it the other way. Nifty play. The turn at second, not in time, and a run does score. But the hands there of Jose Reyes.
That's some kind of play right there. And the cannon, I didn't realize he threw the ball that well still. Caught that ball off balance with a huge hop. Flat-footed through a missile. Garcia running hard down the line like he should. And if he doesn't, that's a double play.
Runners at the corners, brings in Colt Long. Strike one. Chops it left side. Reyes bare hands. How good was that? Cardinals. They do pick up a run thanks to Brandon Moss. He has accounted for all, well, 3 of the 4 RBIs here tonight. A couple of home runs. 2-run shot and a solo shot. He's now up to 25. Eight-4 Mets with the lead over St. Louis. They've out hit the Cardinals 12-9. And it's Sam Tuivailala in our Chevy Colt to the pen. James Loney will be the first hitter. Those of you that have just joined us, it was Loney's little blue base hit, controversial play at third that the guys were talking about. The throw to Wainwright. Cespedes trying to get to the bag. Then after that, an error and a home run. Kind of sums up the night for the Cardinals. Base hit into left for Loney. His third hit. So here it is one more time. The ruling by Major League Baseball have to have possession of the ball. So his glove is trapped between the foot and the bat.
Out? Not out.
Here's Curtis Granderson.
Once
13th
again,
hit for the Mets tonight.
You have to give credit to the umpires. They got it right.
Or did they?
I don't know if anyone did. Or maybe it's just me and you that are wrong in the 40,023 that didn't like it.
Granderson is 1 for 4 on the night. And the 0-1 pitch. Taken low in the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kansas City has tacked on a run. It's now 5-2 as they play in the bottom of the 9th in Miami. They're in the bottom of the 7th. Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. Neuenhuis a 2-run homer, and it's 2-2. Here's a 2-1 pitch. 2-2.
Holy Fox tracks.
I guess you didn't agree with the call, huh?
Seen a few of those tonight. We better check the Fox tracks and make sure it's right.
Granderson is saying that pitch. No way I can get to that
I
pitch.
think he's not the only one tonight. Umpires trying to keep the game moving.
There's your 96-mile-an-hour fastball. First out.
If you go back to the dugout and walk up to your bat and see it underneath, and you look at that Fox tracks and realize that you just struck out on 6 pitches that were nowhere near the zone.
None of them were. Base hit to left.
And you know what? I've been there too. That is not a fun at bat.
It's now 14 hits for the Mets tonight. Out hitting the Cardinals 14-9, 8-4 lead. Rosario trying to calm down Tuivailala. And it brings in Diaza. What a big night he has had. Rob Carpenter, a potential home run. A 3-run homer he hit off of Wainwright. 5 driven in tonight. Royals hold on for a 5-2 win over Miami. Runners at first and second. Pitch number 11 of the inning, upcoming from Tuivailala.
Sam's got that raw power, just velocity, good slider. When he just hones that all in, he is going to be nasty. You can see the reaction to some of these guys' swings and pitches that they take.
Here's a 1-2. And it's hit out of play. I think you need to find that fan and roll right up on him, tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hi, I'm Jim."
roll right up on him. Give me back my jersey. I see the young man right now.
Tui Valala looking back into the home plate umpire. He thought he had strike 3. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out and 2 on. Close. 2-2 pitch. Left center, Grichuk makes the catch. Runners stay put, and there's 2 down. Runners at first and second. Rene Rivera with 2 outs. One for 3 on the night with a double, intentional walk. And here's a 1-0. Ground ball foul. So the Mets wrapping up their long 10-game road trip here tonight. They'll host the Phillies tomorrow. Cardinals have Oakland coming into town. We're on the air at 6:30, game 1 of that series. One ball, 1 strike. Pitch at 97. Boy, when crowd thins out, you can hear that glove popping down there.
And it's popping right now. Whew. Sam is letting that ball go right now, and it is coming out of his hand nicely.
Three and 2. Three-two pitch. Out to right. And it is off the base of the wall. 1 run is in. Second run comes around to score. Well, you always say it, 3-2. 2 outs, get a ball in the gap or to the wall, and that runner from first can score, and that's what happened there.
And you know what? That's exactly what happened there. And funny, I thought you were going to mention it, but that you didn't, so I stayed quiet. Happened anyways.
And a strike to Kelly Johnson.
That gapper got some people out of their seats and on the way to the exit.
Line to first, and the catch made by Carpenter. Mets with a 10-4 lead. They look to make it 2 of 3, and they're 3 outs away against St. Louis. The game 2 for 4 tonight. 3-run homer, a single that scored 2. He scored a pair of runs. It all started though with his glove way back in the first inning to rob Matt Carpenter. Then that crazy inning, which we saw the home run hit by Diaza. That was back in the 5th. And the Mets haven't looked back since. Sean Gilmartin. This is one of the arms that we talked about that the Mets just called up to give them a little protection with all the injuries they have had. So Chevy called to the pen. 10-4 New York. They've out-hit the Cardinals 15-9. And it'll be the top of the lineup. Carpenter, Jerko, and Moss for St. Louis. That kind of night, Jimmy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First pitch is strike. Breaking ball is popped up. The shift was on for Carpenter and can't get there. Good effort by Cabrera. You need to have that Kevin Mitchell barehanded catch at Old Busch Stadium.
He just drop kicked that into the stands. Just hit him in the foot. Thought he was going to catch that. That was a long, long run.
0-2. And he struck him out. Well, normally in a 10-4 game, you probably don't want to tune into the post-game show to see the highlights if you're a Cardinal fan. However, tonight would be one of those times I'm interested in hearing very much what Mike Matheny has to say about the ruling on the field, and not a lot of an argument from him. You know, maybe the situation is one where he says it's one of those oddities of the game in which the glove, if it's caught with a spike, you hardly ever see it, if ever, but that's the ruling. Also get to hear from Adam Wainwright on the post game as well. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Jerko. Hit out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. There'll be so many fans that tune in just to hear what you have to say, Jim. And Al and Scott Warman. So much so, I think I'll go ahead and exit. Let you do the hit by yourself, and because I know that's what fans want.
That's fine with me. It'll be quick. It'll be really quick. It'll be like the one you said in Dodger Stadium. We're going to postgame.
Going to postgame. That was it.
That's all that needs to be said.
Jerko with a fly ball into center. Diaza back at the wall, and it's gone. He almost got that one too. 21st home run, Jed Jerko.
Tell you what, this Moss Jerko combination with these nice easy swings. I mean, look at this. He's not coming out of his shoes. Just head down, barrel. One step closer than he might have caught in that ball. That is pretty good effort right there.
If he's a step to his left, he might make that play.
The funny thing is, the whole time he ran with his head down. He never looked back. And he was just off by 1 step.
Here's Moss, a 2-home run night. Check swing, 1-1.
That's a good shot right there. I would have made some unhappy people in that first base dugout.
Here's a 1-1 to Moss. Lines out to Flores, playing in shallow right field for out number 2. So Jed Jerko now with 21 home runs. There's Lance Lynn, by the way, in the background. Another rehab start for Lance. 3 innings. My understanding was hitting 94 on the gun.
That's impressive and incredible at the same time.
Coming off of Tommy John surgery in October.
First rehab start?
Third, I
Third
believe.
rehab start. I thought you said last night it was his first. That's what happens when I listen too closely to you.
So Moss with his 2 home runs tonight, up to 25. Jerko at 21. 46 between those two. And the Cardinals down to their final strike. No balls, 2 strikes on Piscotty. It's now a 10-5 Mets lead. Piscotty trying to extend the ball game to Rosario. Struck out, walked, popped out, and a single and a run scored back in the 8th. Here's a 1-2. Piscotty with a fly ball. Deep left center. Diaza is back at the wall, and that's gone. It's now a 10-6 game. Piscotty with the home run number 20. Six is a serious number. The Cardinals have scored 6. Any size drink, just 50 cents tomorrow. 20 home runs this year for Piscotty. 4 hit by the Cardinals tonight. 2 by Moss, 1 by Jerko, and now this one moments ago off the bat of Steven Piscotty. And it brings in Rosario. And there's ball 1.
Danny, I believe that is the 20th game this year they've had more than 3 home runs? Holy moly.
Just clears the wall and left.
Tell you what, this ball did not want to come down. I didn't think he got enough, and it just kept going and going and going.
It looks like Familia now up and throwing, and that's the last thing that Terry Collins wanted to do. This should do it. Rounder to second, and the Mets come into Busch Stadium and take 2 of 3. The final of 10-6. New York over St. Louis. Stay with us. The post-game show is next.